Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada. We engage in hearing and chanting pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Leela, from the Chaitanya Bhagavata by Vrndavana Thakur. Shri Krishna. This is chapter 12. Description of Lord Chaitanya's walking in the city and other pastimes. Glory, glory to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Glory, glory to the Lord's followers. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, always carrying a book, enjoyed pastimes in Navadvip. The Lord challenged all the teachers and scholars. None had the power to defeat him in argument. Although he had studied only Sanskrit grammar, the Lord thought all the learned Bhattacharyas no more important than a blade of straw. Accompanied by his fortunate students, the Lord happily wandered in the town. By divine arrangement, the Lord saw Mukunda on the street. Grasping his hand, the Lord spoke these words: "Why do you run away when you see me? Today I will see if you run away without answering my questions." In his heart, Mukunda thought, "How will I defeat him today? He only studies Sanskrit grammar. Today I'll question him on rhetoric. Never again will he be arrogant in my presence." Lord Chaitanya and Mukunda placed questions before each other. The Lord ripped Mukunda's explanations to pieces. Mukunda said, "Grammar is for children. Only children argue points of grammar." "I will debate rhetoric with you," the Lord replied. "You may ask whatever is in your mind." Mukunda recited very, very difficult verses and asked questions about various points of rhetoric. Lord Chaitanya, the all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead who had descended to the material world, found fault with Mukunda's explanations of rhetoric. Again and again he ripped everything to pieces. After the Lord's refutations, Mukunda could not re-establish his argument. Laughing and laughing, the Lord spoke these words: "For today go home and carefully study your books. Come tomorrow, I'll question you again." Touching the dust of the Lord's feet, Mukunda left. Filled with wonder, Mukunda again and again thought in his heart, "Where is a human being learned like he? No one knows books like he. No one is as learned as he. If such an intelligent person were also a devotee of Lord Krishna, then I would not leave his company for even a moment." In this way, the king of Vaikuntha tasted the nectar of learning. The next day, as he was walking about, the Lord saw Gadadhar Das. Laughing, the Lord grabbed him with both hands and said, "You study logic. You must answer my questions before you go." Gadadhar replied, "Ask." The Lord said, "Describe what you see are the symptoms of liberation." Following the descriptions of Scripture, Gadadhar explained. The Lord said, "I don't agree with your explanation." Gadadhar said, "Liberation is the complete destruction of all sufferings. The Scriptures describe liberation in that way." Then Lord Chaitanya, the master of Goddess Saraswati, found many different errors in Gadadhar's explanations. No logician was like him. No one could defeat him in debate. No one could say anything to defeat the Lord in a debate. Gadadhar thought, "Now I should flee." The Lord said, "Gadadhar, now you may go. Return tomorrow. I'll question you again." Gadadhar offered obeisances and left. In this way, the Lord wandered in town after town. Everyone came to know that the Lord was a great Pandit. When they saw him, everyone was respectful. In the afternoon, the Lord and his students would happily go to the Ganga's bank. The Lord's form, which was worshipped by goddess Lakshmi, which had no rival in the three worlds, was more handsome than Kamadev. In the four directions was a circle of students, and in the center was Lord Chaitanya explaining the meanings of books. At sunset, the Vaishnavas happily came to the Ganga's bank. As from a distance they overheard the Lord's lectures, the Vaishnavas felt joy and sadness in their hearts. Someone said, "He's so handsome and so learned, still he does not worship Lord Krishna. His good qualities are not worth anything." Everyone said, "Oh, my brothers, whenever we see him, we flee, afraid he may ask many tricky questions." Someone said, "When he sees you, he'll not let you escape. He holds on to you like a tax collector." Someone else said, "He has great Brahminical power. It is as if he is more than human. I think he must be some very exalted person. Although he asks me very tricky questions, I always feel very happy when I see him. I have never seen a human being as learned as he, but I'm very unhappy that he does not worship Lord Krishna." All the devotees prayed on Lord Chaitanya's behalf. They said, "May this person attain love for Lord Krishna." On the Ganga's bank, the devotees offered Vrndavana obeisances. They prayed that Lord Krishna would bless Jagannath Mishra's son. They prayed, "O Lord Krishna, please make Jagannath Mishra's son intoxicated by tasting the nectar of love for you. Make him give up everything else. Please grant he will always worship you with pure love. O Lord Krishna, then please allow us to associate with him." As the all-pervading Supersoul, Lord Chaitanya knows all that happens in everyone's heart. Whenever he saw Srivas or any other devotees, the Lord always bowed down to offer respect. Lord Chaitanya accepted the devotees' blessings and placed them on his head, for the devotees' blessings bring devotional service. When they saw him, the devotees would say, "Why do you spend your time engrossed in material learning?" Someone said, "Look, Nimai Pandit, what will you gain by material learning? You should worship Lord Krishna at once." "Why do people study? So they may understand devotional service to Lord Krishna. If you don't try to understand that, then why do you study?" Smiling, the Lord replied, "I'm very fortunate you have taught me the supreme importance of devotional service to Lord Krishna. In my heart, I know that whoever attains your blessings becomes most fortunate. For a few days more I will study. That is the desire in my heart. Then I will approach a pure Vaishnava." After speaking these words to his servant, the Lord smiled. Bewildered by the Lord's Yogamaya potency, devotees could not understand the Lord's true identity. The Lord stole everyone's heart. There was not a single person who was not eager to see him again. Sometimes the Lord stayed by the Ganga's bank, and other times he traveled from town to town. Whenever they saw him, the people of the towns respectfully bowed down before his feet. When the women saw him, they declared, "He is Kamadev himself." The women are who his relatives have attained many, many births of pious deeds. The Pandits saw him as equal to Brihaspati. The elders and other respectable people bowed down before his lotus feet. The yogis saw him as a person whose body contains all mystic perfections. The wicked person saw him as a very frightening being. Whoever conversed with the Lord found himself like a prisoner, bound with ropes of love. Although the Lord was a braggart, arrogantly tasting the nectar of learning, everyone liked to hear him. They all loved him. When the Muslims saw the Lord, they also loved him dearly. It was the Lord's nature to be kind to all. The king of Vaikuntha lectured at the entrance to fortunate Mukunda Sanjaya's home in Navadvip. Presenting one argument and then an opposing argument, proving one point and then refuting another, the Lord lectured without stopping. Mukunda Sanjaya and his associates were all very fortunate. They floated in bliss. Still, they did not know the heart of what was happening before them. In their home, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was victorious in scholarship. The king of Vaikuntha there enjoyed pastimes tasting the nectar of learning. One day, pretending to be sick with a disturbance of the body's vital airs, the Lord displayed all the ecstatic symptoms of pure spiritual love, prema bhakti. Suddenly, the Lord began to speak words no one could understand. He rolled on the ground, he laughed, he broke everything in the house and threw it here and there. He roared, he clapped his arms. Anyone he saw, he attacked. After some moments, his limbs became stunned and he fell unconscious. All who saw him became afraid. Hearing that the Lord's vital airs were now in disarray, his relatives and friends had a meeting to decide how to cure the Lord. Buddhimanta Khan, Mukunda Sanjaya, and a host of others came to the Lord's home. They tried to cure the Lord by placing Vishnu oil and Narayan oil on his head. The Lord was deliberately acting in that way. How could they cure him with medicines? All his limbs trembled. The Lord waved his hands. When they heard him scream, everyone became afraid. The Lord proclaimed, "I am the master of all the worlds. I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My name is Vishvambar, the maintainer of the worlds. I am He. But no one of you knows my true identity." After speaking these words, the Lord lunged to attack someone. Everyone grabbed him. Pretending to be sick in this way, the Lord revealed his true identity. Still bewildered by Yogamaya, no one understood. A person said, "A demon must have possessed him." Another person said, "I think it's the work of a witch." Another person said, "He always talks. This talking made an escape route for his vital airs. That is how his vital airs became depleted. That's my opinion." The people speculated in different ways. Bewildered by Lord Vishnu's Yogamaya potency, they did not understand the truth. They anointed his head with various kinds of medicinal oil. They put his body in a vat of oil. Floating in a vat of oil, the Lord happily laughed, as if his vital airs were indeed in disarray. Deliberately pretending to be ill, the Lord enjoyed pastimes in this way. Eventually, the Lord became normal again of his own accord. The blissful sound of Lord Hari's name arose from everyone. The people gave gifts of cloth indiscriminately. They did not even know the persons to whom they gave. Hearing that the Lord was well again, everyone was jubilant. Everyone said, "May he have a long life. May the Pandit have a long life." In this way, the king of Vaikuntha enjoyed pastimes. Who can understand the truth of the pastimes of the Lord does not reveal it. When they saw him, all the Vaishnavas advised the Lord, "Son, you should worship Lord Krishna's feet. Don't delay for even a moment. After all, this material body is not eternal. But how can we teach you? You are very wise and learned." Smiling, the Lord bowed down before the Vaishnavas. Then he went to teach his students. In the Chandi Mandapa of fortunate Mukunda Sanjaya's home, the Lord lectured. His head still fragrant from the medicinal oils, the Lord lectured to his fortunate students. The four directions were beautiful with a host of fortunate students. In their midst, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the life of the worlds, lectured. I do not have the power to describe the glory and beauty of that scene. As I think about it, I do not see any metaphors I could give to describe it. I think perhaps the Lord was like Narayan Rishi, surrounded by the four Kumaras and a host of sages at Bhadrakashram. I know that Lord Chaitanya's pastimes were like Narayana Rishi's pastimes with his students. I know for certain that Sachi's son is Narayan Rishi, who stays at Bhadrakashram. In this way, the Lord enjoyed pastimes with his students. He was the king of Vaikuntha, enjoying pastimes of tasting the nectar of learning. After 6 hours of class, the Lord and his students would go to bathe in the Ganga. After some moments of playing the Ganga's waters, the Lord would return home and worship Lord Vishnu. After watering and circumambulating Tulsi, the Lord would sit down to eat. Then he would say, "Hari, Hari." Then Lakshmi would bring his lunch, and then he who was the king of Vaikuntha would eat. Her eyes filling with tears, saintly Mother Sachi would gaze at her son. After lunch, the Lord would chew betel nuts and take a nap, and Lakshmi would massage his feet. After a few moments in Yoga Nidra sleep, the Lord would open his eyes, pick up his books, and again go out. Walking in the town, the Lord enjoyed many pastimes. Smiling, he would talk with everyone. Although they did not know the Lord's true identity, everyone treated him with respect. In this way, Sachi's son wandered in the town. The people gazed on the person even the demigods could not see. The Lord came to a weaver's door. Seeing the Lord, the weaver respectfully bowed down. "Give me a good cloth," the Lord said. The weaver brought a cloth at once. The Lord asked, "What's the cost of this cloth?" The weaver replied, "Whatever you will give." Examining the cloth, the Lord said, "I have no coins." The weaver replied, "My Lord, you may pay after 10 or 14 days. Take the cloth now, and if you are pleased with it, you may give me coins later." After placing his merciful glance on the weaver, the Lord stood up and then went to a milkman's house. The Lord stood at the milkman's door. Taking advantage of his status as a Brahmin, the Lord spoke joking words. He said, "Boy, bring some milk and yogurt. Today I accept charity at your house." Seeing that the Lord was like Kamadev himself, the milkman gave him the best sitting place. Then the milkman joked with the Lord. They all addressed him with the words, "Uncle, uncle." One of them said, "Come, uncle, come and eat some rice." Then the milkman placed his hand on the Lord's shoulder, gesturing that the Lord should accompany him home. After another one said, "Come and eat rice in my home. In your heart you do not remember how you ate there before." Here Goddess Saraswati forced him to speak the truth, although he did not know it. Lord Chaitanya laughed at the milkman's joking words. The milkman brought milk, ghee, yogurt, sweet cream. The Lord was pleased. The Lord was pleased with the milkman. Then the Lord stood up and went to a fragrant oil merchant's house. The fragrant oil merchant bowed down before the Lord's feet. The Lord said, "My brother, bring me some good fragrant oils." The merchant at once brought some splendid fragrant oils. "What is the price?" Sachi's son asked. The merchant replied, "Whatever you think, my lord. How is right to quote a price?" "My lord, today you take this fragrant oil home. If tomorrow you anoint your body with an abundance of this oil, and even after you have bathed the fragrance has still not gone away, you may return and pay whatever is in your heart you think is right." After speaking these words, he anointed the Lord's limbs with that fragrant oil. I do not know how much happiness the merchant felt after giving this oil to the Lord. Lord Chaitanya is present in everyone's heart. He attracts the minds of everyone. Who is not enchanted by seeing his form? After giving his mercy to the merchant, the Lord stood up and went to a garland maker's house. Seeing the Lord's very wonderful form, the garland maker respectfully offered him a seat and bowed down before him. The Lord said, "O garland maker, please give me a good garland. However, I do not have any coins with me." Seeing that the Lord was a very exalted person, the garland maker brought a garland and said, "You do not have to give me anything." After speaking these words, he placed the garland on the Lord's beautiful body. Accompanied by all his students, the Lord smiled. The Lord placed a glance of mercy on the garland maker. Standing up, Supreme Personality of Godhead Lord Chaitanya then went to a betel nut merchant's home. Seeing the Lord, who was more charming and handsome than Kamadev himself, the betel nut merchant touched the dust of his feet and offered him a seat. The betel nut merchant said, "I'm very fortunate. I'm fortunate you have come to my humble door." After speaking these words, he very happily offered some betel nuts to the Lord. Glancing at him, the Lord smiled. The Lord said, "Why do you offer me this when I have not paid anything?" The betel nut merchant replied, "I follow my heart." Hearing the betel nut merchant's words, the Lord smiled. He very happily chewed the betel nuts. Making a packet of splendid betel leaves, camphor, and other pleasing ingredients, the merchant respectfully offered it to the Lord. He did not ask for any payment. The Lord gave his mercy to the betel nut merchant. Smiling and smiling, the Lord continued his stroll in the town. Navadvip was exactly like Mathura. I cannot say how many hundreds of thousands of people lived there. By divine intervention, everything in Navadvip was properly arranged even before the Lord manifested his pastimes there. As before, he had wandered in Mathura, so Sachi's son playfully wandered in Navadvip. Then Lord Chaitanya went to a conch shell merchant's home. Seeing the Lord, the conch shell merchant humbly bowed down. The Lord said, "O my brother, please give me a splendid conch shell so I may look at it. I would like to take a conch shell, but I did not bring any money." The conch shell merchant at once brought a splendid conch shell, placed it in the Lord's graceful hand, and bowed down. He said, "O my Lord, please take this conch shell home with you. Later you may pay, or if you do not pay at all, it does not matter." Pleased with the conch shell merchant's words, the Lord smiled, gave him a glance of mercy, and left. Thus, wandering in Navadvip, the Lord visited every house. Even today, the residents of Navadvip are fortunate to have attained the feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Then, supremely independent, Lord Chaitanya entered the home of an all-knowing sage. Seeing the Lord's splendid effulgence, the all-knowing sage humbly bowed down. The Lord said, "I've heard that you know everything. Who was I in my previous births? Please look and tell me." Saying, "Very well," the saintly all-knowing sage began to meditate. He chanted the Gopal mantra. Suddenly he saw a vision. He saw an effulgent dark person whose chest held a kastoba and srivatsa, with 4 hands held a conch shell, chakra, club, and lotus. He saw this form of the Lord manifested at midnight in a prison cell. He saw a father and mother offering prayers to this form. Then he saw a father holding his son to his chest and carrying him at night to Gokula. Then again he saw a charming 2-armed child dressed only by the 4 directions, tinkling bells around his waist, and fresh butter in his 2 hands. Meditating again and again, the all-knowing sage saw that this child had all the divine features of his worshipful deity. Again he saw a 3-fold bending person playing a flute. In the 4 directions he saw many gopis singing and playing musical instruments. His eyes closed, the all-knowing sage saw all these wonders. As he continued to meditate, he saw Lord Chaitanya again and again. Then the all-knowing sage said, "Oh, Sri Bala Gopal, please hear. Who is this Brahmin? Now please show me." Then the all-knowing sage saw the Lord sitting on a throne. The Lord's complexion was dark like durva grass, and he held a bow. Again the sage saw the Lord in a wonderful form of Raha, holding the earth in his tusks in the middle of the ocean of devastation. Again he saw the Lord's wonderful Nishinga incarnation, whose form was very ferocious, and who was a shoreless ocean of love for his devotees. Again he saw the Lord manifest in the form of Vamana, and cheat Bali in the yagna, and then manifest his Maya potency. Again he saw the form of Matsya, who was happily playing in the waters of devastation. Again the all-knowing sage saw the Lord's form of Balaram, who was very angry and held a club in his hand. The all-knowing sage saw the form of Lord Jagannath. In the middle was Subhadra, and on the right was Balaram. In this way, the all-knowing sage saw the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Still, the sage did not understand anything, but he was bewildered by the Yogamaya potency. Filled with wonder, the all-knowing sage thought in his heart, "I think this Brahmin may be a magician expert in chanting mantras and casting spells. Or perhaps he's a demigod disguised as a Brahmin, come here to play practical jokes by testing me and tricking me. I can see that this Brahmin's body has a divine effulgence. Perhaps he's another all-knowing sage come to mock me." As the sage was thinking all this, the Lord smiled and asked, "Who am I? What did you see? Why don't you tell me?" The all-knowing sage said, "Please come back later. I'll meditate and chant mantras. This afternoon I will tell you." Saying, very good, the Lord smiled and left. Then the Lord went to the home of his dear devotee, Sridhar. In his heart, the Lord was very pleased with Sridhar. On various pretexts, the Lord again and again visited his home. Again and again, the Lord spent an hour or 2 happily talking and joking with Sridhar. When he saw the Lord, Sridhar would bow down, respectfully offer him a seat. Sridhar was naturally very peaceful, and the Lord was naturally playful and arrogant. The Lord said, "Sridhar, at every moment you chant, Hari, Hari. Still, your life is very miserable. What is the reason for that? Although you serve Goddess Lakshmi's husband, your food and clothing are miserable. Please tell me why that is. All this I have heard, and now I also see it directly. Sridhar replied, I'm not starving. I may get a little or a lot. You can see that I do wear clothing. Then the Lord said, I can see your clothing is knotted in 10 places. Tell me about your house. I do not see that your grass house is free of holes. Look, in this town, who among the worshippers of Goddess Durga and the snake goddess Manasa does not eat very well at home? Sridhar replied, O Brahmin, you have spoken very well. Still, everyone passes the time in the same way. Look, a king may live in a house of jewels and enjoy many splendid pleasures, and birds may live in a tree. Still, they pass the time in the same way. By the Lord's will, everyone must experience what his past karma destines. Then the Lord said, You possess a great treasure. You hide it and secretly enjoy it. One day I will find it. I will see it. How you cheat the people then. Sridhar replied, O Pandit, you may come to my house. It is not right that you fight with me. The Lord said, I won't leave you so easily. Tell me what you're going to feed me. Sridhar replied, I live by selling banana leaves. What can I give you? Tell me, my Lord. The Lord said, You hide your treasure underground. One day I will find where it is. Without asking for payment, give me bananas, roots, and banana leaves. Then I won't fight with you. In his heart, Sridhar thought, This Brahmin is very aggressive. One day he may hit me with his fist. If this Brahmin attacks me, what can I do? Every day I cannot give him these things without asking for payment. Still, by trick or by force, he always takes from me. Well, this is my good fortune. Every day I will give him whatever he wants. Thinking in this way, Sridhar said, My Lord, please listen. I will give you whatever you want. You need not pay for anything. I'll give you bananas, roots, banana leaves, your heart's content. Please don't fight with me. The Lord replied, Good, good, I will not fight. I will enjoy excellent bananas, roots, and banana leaves. The Lord regularly ate Sridhar's bananas, roots, and vegetables in Sridhar's banana leaf cups. When a squash grew in a vine in Sridhar's roof, it was cooked with milk and spices, and the Lord enjoyed it. The Lord said, Sridhar, what do you think of me? When you tell me, I will go home. Sridhar replied, You are a Brahmin. You are part and parcel of Lord Vishnu. You don't understand. I was born in a family of coward people. You see me as a young Brahmin, but I consider myself a coward boy. Hearing the Lord's words, Sridhar laughed. Bewildered by Yogamaya, he did not recognize his Lord. The Lord said, Sridhar, what I tell you is the truth. The glory of the Ganga comes from me. Sridhar said, Oh, Nimai Pandit, are you not afraid to disrespect the Ganga? Generally, people grow more peaceful and steady as they grow older, but you've become twice as mischievous. Lord Chaitanya, who is in truth Lord Hari himself, returned to his home after enjoying these pastimes with Sridhar. When Lord Chaitanya entered the room of his Vishnu temple, his students returned to their homes. When he saw the full moon rise, Lord Chaitanya felt the mood of Lord Krishna. The moon of Vrndavana entered his heart. Then Lord Chaitanya manifested the wonderful sound of his flute. Only Mother Sachi and no one else heard that music. Hearing that flute music, which charms the 3 worlds, Mother Sachi at once fainted, plunged in ecstasy. In a moment she regained consciousness, steadied her mind, and carefully listened to the wonderful flute music. She thought that the beautiful flute music she heard came from where Lord Chaitanya was. She listened to the wonderful music. Mother Sachi gazed at her son, who was sitting in the Vishnu temple room. Suddenly, she no longer heard the music. She saw the moon and the sky on her son's chest. Astonished to see the moon on her son's chest, Mother Sachi looked in all 4 directions. Going to her room, Mother Sachi became wrapped in thought, but she could not understand what was the cause of all this. In this way, Mother Sachi was very fortunate. There was no end to the wonders she saw. Some evenings, Mother Sachi heard hundreds of people singing and playing musical instruments. She heard different kinds of singing, dancing, and hand clapping. She heard something that was like a great rasa dance pastime. Sometimes she saw the doorway and the entire house filled with light. She could not see anything. Sometimes she saw many splendid women, lotus ornaments in their hands and beautiful like goddess Lakshmi. Sometimes she saw effulgent demigods. One moment she saw them and the next she did not. It's not surprising that Mother Sachi saw all these wonders. The Vedas declare that she is the personification of devotional service to Lord Vishnu. If Mother Sachi once glances on a person, that person becomes eligible to see all these wonders. In this way, Lord Chaitanya, who is forest flower garlanded Lord Krishna himself, concealed his true identity and happily enjoyed pastimes. Sometimes the Lord revealed his true identity, but servants could not recognize him. The Lord liked to enjoy pastimes of being arrogant. No one in Navadvip was as arrogant like him. Whatever pastimes he enjoys, the Lord is always the best. No one is his equal. When the desire to enjoy fighting pastimes takes its birth in him, no one can equal the Lord in heroism or skill in fighting with weapons. When he desires to enjoy amorous pastimes, he conquers thousands and millions of beautiful girls. When he desires to enjoy pastimes of opulence, his home holds many millions of treasure houses filled with wealth. In this way, the Lord enjoys pastimes of arrogance. Later, he would enjoy pastimes of renunciation. In the three worlds, where is even a tiny particle of the devotion and renunciation the Lord possessed? Can anyone equal him? When the Lord acts, he is always the best. Still, he is defeated by his devotees, for that is his nature. One day the Lord was walking on the street. 5 or 7 students were around him in the 4 directions. His garments were like those of a king, his limbs glorious with yellow garments. He looked like Lord Krishna himself. Betel nuts were on his lips. His face was more glorious than millions of moons. The people said, "Is he Kamadev manifesting this form?" Vaishnav tilak was on his head. A book was in his graceful hand. A single glance from his lotus eyes removed all sins. His nature was restless. The Lord swung his arms as he happily walked with his students. By divine arrangement, Srivas Pandit was also walking on that street. Seeing the Lord, he smiled broadly. Seeing him, the Lord at once offered obeisances. Noble Srivas said, "May you live long." Smiling Srivas said, "What do I see? What do I hear? Please tell me. Where are you going, O pressed jewel of arrogance? What are you doing with your time instead of worshipping Lord Krishna? Why are you always lecturing day and night? Why should people study and hear lectures so they can understand devotional service to Lord Krishna? What's the use of scholarship if it does not teach that? Don't waste your time like that. You're learned. Worship Lord Krishna." Lord Chaitanya smiled and said, "O Pandit, please listen. By your mercy, even this person will become converted." After speaking these words, the Lord smiled and went away. Going to the Ganga's bank, he met with his students. Sachi sun sat by the Ganga's bank. Sitting around him in 4 directions were his students. Even if I had 10 million mouths, I would not be able to describe the glory of that scene. I do not see anything in the 3 worlds to which it may be compared. I cannot say that the Lord and his students were like the moon surrounded by the stars, for the moon has spots and also has waxes and wanes. However, the Lord is always full and perfect. He never waxes or wanes, nor does he have any faults. Therefore, the idea of comparing him to the moon should be thrown away. The Lord should not be compared to Brihaspati either. Brihaspati is partisan. He's the helper of the demigods. Lord Chaitanya is not partisan. He's the friend and helper of all. Therefore, Brihaspati cannot be compared to him. I cannot compare Lord Chaitanya to Kamadev either. When Kamadev awakens in the heart, he brings agitation. When Lord Chaitanya awakens in the heart, he brings the destruction of all material bondage. In this way, the heart becomes supremely pure and happy. In this way, no example is right. In my heart, I see only one possible comparison. Here is the comparison. Lord Chaitanya was like Lord Krishna sitting in the midst of the cowherd boys, enjoying pastimes by the Yamuna's bank. I know that the same Lord Krishna and the same cowherd boys became Brahmins and enjoyed pastimes by the Ganga's bank. The people by the Ganga's bank who saw the Lord's face felt indescribable happiness. Seeing the Lord's very extraordinary effulgence and glory, the people of the Ganga's bank would secretly discuss it among themselves. Someone said, "This glory is not like that of a human being." Someone else said, "Perhaps this Brahmin is a partial incarnation of Lord Vishnu." Someone else said, "It is said that one day a Brahmin will become king of West Bengal. I'm convinced he's that Brahmin. I'll not be shaken from that opinion. I can see he has all the signs of being the ruler of many kings." In this way everyone expressed their opinion. From the corner of his eye, observing the others, Lord Chaitanya would lecture as he sat near the Ganga. First, he would prove a point, declaring it is true. Then he would refute that point and prove it's not true. Then he would refute the refutation and prove it is true. In this way, he could refute and point, and after completely refuting it, firmly prove it again at the end. The Lord would declare, "I will call that person Pandit who once will debate with me. Who has the power to come and debate with me?" In this way, the Lord manifested his pride. When they heard his words, all the other Pandits felt their pride was being crushed into powder. There was no end to the Lord's students. The circle of the Lord's students included many people in many places. Every day 10 or 20 Brahmin boys would come and offer obeisances to the Lord's feet. They would say, "O Pandit, I wish to study at your place. Then I will learn something. Please be merciful, accept me." They would always smile and say, "Very well, very well." In this way the number of his students increased day by day. In this way he who is the crest jewel of the Vaikuntha world would sit in the middle of a circle of students by the Ganga's bank. The 4 directions were filled with fortunate people gazing at the Lord. By the Lord's power, everyone in Navadvip was freed from all sufferings. Who can describe the good fortune of the fortunate people who thus saw the Lord's blissful pastimes? The pious people who saw the Lord's blissful pastimes broke the bonds that tied them to this world of birth and death. My birth is sinful. I did not live at that time. I was cheated of the chance to see those blissful pastimes. O Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me nevertheless. Please allow that birth after birth I remember these pastimes. Wherever you enjoy pastimes with Lord Nityananda and your associates, please allow me to come and be your servant. The 2 moons, Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Sri Nityananda, are my life and soul. I, Vrndavana Das, sing the glories of their feet.